Prejudice can do with us. So Karlijn, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. First I want to address that a bit because it's actually very nice. Within Turkey, every city has its own local dish. So I went to Adana, for instance, and in Adana it is kebab, but in Mersin, city below Adana, it's tantuni, and every city has its own signature dish. So actually it was correct. Okay. I don't know if you ever just judge somebody without knowing the facts about somebody. Well, I do, actually quite a lot. I tend to form my opinion quite quickly, and I'm also quite an opinionated person, if I might say so. And this summer I decided I want to change a bit. So I decided that I want to go to Turkey. So you're probably wondering why Turkey? Well, if I think about Turkish people, then I think about how bad they are integrated within the culture. I think of organizations like ISIS that are destroying the countries, stuff like that. But those are all judgments that we make, and those might not actually be true. So during the summer, I decided that I would go to Adana, which is located there. It's quite near the Syrian border, and it's really hot in there. So that's kind of what I did not expect it. It's during the day it's about 35 degrees, so yeah, 35 degrees, which is quite hot. And being there, the city is very, it's kind of interesting city because it's the fourth largest city of Turkey, and it has 2 million inhabitants, which is much more than I'm used to. And also there are a lot of poor people and there's a lot of criminality because, as you might notice, it's quite near the Syrian border, and a lot of Syrian people went from Syria to Adana to try to find their luck there due to the war. So it's not really a holiday destination. One thing that is what's very important in Adana, they are still very religious. They're all, Muslim, is the biggest religion over there. And this is their mosque, which they are very, very proud of. It's a massive one. It's the biggest in the region. And if you hear all of these things, it doesn't really sound like a vacation. And it wasn't. It was quite difficult actually for me. One of the best things that while going abroad via Isaac is that you get the chance to live in a host family. I did actually, and it was really wonderful. They were wonderful because they really learned me how it is to live in the real Turkey. They really inspired me, and they were very curious about about the Netherlands as well. They asked me questions, I asked them questions. They were very open, something that I didn't expect, because one thing that I always thought about, like Turkish people in general, is that they were very close because they are always, like if you are in a village or something like that, it's always, they sort of group together. It's also a Prejudice what I'm making, but, and this picture was actually taken on my birthday. And one thing that you notice when you're living actually the real Turkish life is that you have very much things in common, much more than you might notice, because Turkish daily life actually is very comparable to what we do in the Netherlands. Only it are these small things that are not similar. For instance, on my birthday, the day before my birthday, I decided to bake some Dutch treats to hand out at the project that I was participating in. They were like, "Oh my God, are you seriously baking food to give other people on your birthday? Like, why are you doing that? You should get food on your birthday." So I was like, "Yeah, no, that's normal within the Netherlands. I don't know." Well, next day I went to school, where I did the project, and I had, I think during the day, 3 or 4 pieces of cake, because apparently it's quite differs per culture what you can expect for your birthday. And this was the project. Yeah, the picture is not really clear. But what I did in the project was something about cross-cultural integration, but also about some English skills, so it was kind of a mixture, and it was for high school students. And one thing that was very valuable for me were the discussion clubs that we did. During the discussion clubs, we addressed social issues that sort of everybody had in every country. And one thing that really stuck to me was that one one student of mine, I don't know if it was a story about him, I think it was, but he addressed, because one topic was relationships, and he addressed that being gay, being openly gay within Turkey is not really possible. Because if people would know you're gay, or you would walk hand in hand with your boyfriend on the street, stuff like that, then people would just beat you and you end up in hospital. And I was sort of shocked because in the Netherlands, yeah, you can just do whatever you want, in my opinion. And another intern, so a colleague from mine from Kazakhstan, he said, yeah, being gay, yeah, I just think it's a disease. Yeah, you can cure it, stuff like that. And in my mind, I was like, dude, are you serious? This is 21st century. What are you doing? What are you thinking? But one thing that really, what really happened is that I became so much more appreciative of the Netherlands. I never appreciate my own country more. And I really held on to my country because it was something that I could relate to. It was something that was familiar for me. It was something safe. But that's maybe some of the things that happened within the Netherlands as well, because if Turkish people move to the Netherlands, if they integrate within the Dutch culture, they have to let go of their religion, of their thoughts, of their safe feelings, which is quite scary, because you might not always agree with those things. So that's maybe one of the reasons why it's very hard to integrate in the culture, because you sort of lose your identity, but you also gain more insights in other things. But that's kind of a problem. This is a picture of me and my host mom, and as you might notice, she's wearing a headscarf, but the sisters in the family, they didn't. And it was something that I didn't know. I thought that if you are a Muslim, if you really are religiously raised, then you have to wear a headscarf, or you have to cover up yourself entirely. But within Turkey, that's actually not the case, because it's actually depending quite per family if you have to do it, and also it's not written in the Quran that you have to cover up yourself entirely. And that's also one thing that I didn't know is, like, you know, the burqas, the black veils that some women are wearing, and that's actually something from Arabic culture, and it's not written in the Quran that you have to wear a black veil entirely. So a lot of that we associate as bad things as Western people are actually more determined by culture rather than religion. And then also, what I also learned during there from my host mom actually, is that we always see Islam as a religion that really oppressed women. Like, you have the men here and the women over there. But when the Islam started or was spread, they actually did a lot for women's rights. At first you had the men, then you had the cattle, then you had the children, then you had the cattle, and then you had the dogs, and then you had the women. But due to the spread of Islam, due to the religion that was spread, women also got rights, but also got duties, because men need women in order to get children, to spread the religion, to be pure, stuff like that. So women's rights, women got more rights. But in the end, within Western society, we more feminism, stuff like that. So we sort of grow. So, and within Muslim culture, they sort of stood still. So that's why now we think that they only obey women. Well, that was, now maybe they do. But in the beginning, that was actually not really the case. And the biggest thing that I learned from my journey was, the night that I really remember was the day before I left. I was watching just TV with my host family as we normally did during the evening, and we had a discussion about religion. The parents of the family were actually very well educated, because they read the Bible, they read the Quran, and they read the Torah, so they knew pretty much, they could compare everything with everything. So I had always very interesting discussions with them. And one thing that I noticed, we have so much more in common than you might think. And one thing, because we do not know that much about religion, because I'm raised as an atheist, for instance, I cannot really relate to that much. So for me, it's very hard to say, oh, you're not drinking, oh, because it's written in a book, that's kind of strange. But there comes therefore is cross-cultural integration very important for me, because only if you talk with those people and if you really understand what they are going through, then you can have respect for them, and then they will have respect for you as well. So that's sort of what I want to say.